All right, man. So we wrap up the final game of the Saturday divisional round between the Commanders and the Detroit Lions. And I have to say, this probably was one of the biggest surprises, I think, of the playoffs so far. No one expected the Commanders to win. And I wouldn't even necessarily say nobody expected the Commanders to win. I think more so the fashion of how they won what was more of a shocker. Now, disclaimer, yeah, the Lions had a lot of people hurt, up until this point, but they were still making do. And then even in this game, you seen Amik Robertson. He went down with an injury early on, so that hurt him as well. So we do realize that the Lions was a banged up team, but like we always say that in football, man, that comes with the territory. Week to week, everybody has people that's injured, for the most part. There's no team in the history of the NFL that has went through a season and had absolutely no injuries, So like I always say, championship teams find a way to be able to bounce back. Now, granted, I always said that one of the positions that's harder to replace would be quarterback. And me and my buddies was having a debate the other day, and he was like, yeah, but he's like, I would also say edge rushers. And come, this is what hurt the Lions ultimately over the course of that game, was just not being able to get pressure up front on Jaden Daniels. A lot of times Jaden Daniels had clear pockets to make throws, just like one of the ones you just seen. So it was rare whenever they were able to get that pressure up. And you can't really blitz a quarterback like Jaden Daniels because they pick up on those blitzes and they realize, okay, there's opportunities here or there based off of where you're blitzing from. So it's a little harder when you're dealing with those guys. And by him being a mobile quarterback, that almost makes it a little bit more difficult. So I'm gonna jump into like the statistics of the game. Because like this was like I said, the first divisional game was a defensive game. The second one was more of an offensive game between the Lions and the Commanders. So we're gonna say for total yards, you had the Lions who had 521 total yards. Commanders had 481. Passing yards, the Lions had 320. The Commanders had 299. Rushing yards, the Lions had 201. And the Commanders had 182. First downs, the Lions had 30 and the Commanders had 27. Third down efficiency, the Lions was 3 for 9, while the Commanders were 4 for 12. Fourth down efficiency, which was pretty good on both teams. The Lions was 2 for 2, while the Commanders was 3 for 4. That one they didn't get was the little broken play they had with Marcus Mariota. I don't really know what was going on there. And this is one that really stands out, and it piggybacks off what I said in terms of the pressure up front. That sacks allowed, Lions allowed 2, Commanders allowed 0, and both teams only punted one time. So I told you that was an offensive-based game. Now the Lions had 5 penalties for 30 yards, while the Commanders had 4 penalties for 25 yards. So they were pretty similar in that category. Now I think the biggest difference in terms of because everything else for the most part, as you guys heard, was pretty close. I think the biggest thing was the turnover ratio. So you had fumbles lost. Lions fumbled, Commanders didn't. You had interceptions. Lions threw 4, Commanders didn't. I think Goff threw 3, and then the receiver ended up throwing 1 on that trick play. So time of possession, the Lions had the ball for 26 minutes and 1 second, and the Commanders had the ball for 33 minutes and 59 seconds. So I had put like some little comments on there where I was saying like the Commanders only punted the ball once, but I didn't realize that both of them only punted the ball once. Detroit could not get pressure up front on Jaden Daniels, like I said early on, and Jared Goff's decision making on some of those passes that he threw interceptions on. I kind of really didn't understand what he was looking at. And I felt that it kind of was probably coming from a forced state of mind. It's like, okay, we got to put something. I got to compete and put up points because for whatever reason, my defense, we're not able to get pressure and we're not able to really rattle Jaden Daniels, which is hard to do because he's able to stay composed, as you see throughout the course of the game. But I mean, like I said, the biggest thing for me, I would say that hurt the Lions ultimately, like I said, was just not being able to get pressure up front and put pressure on Jaden Daniels. And another thing that hurt them as well is that the Lions run man-to-man coverage. Right. So man-to-man against a mobile quarterback is always dangerous because of the simple fact is that your corners and safeties, for the most part, are matched up one-on-one. So that means that their back most of the time is turned to the quarterback. So by the time the quarterback takes off running, it's a while before they turn around and look and see that he's already got the first down and he's coming their way. So that kind of makes it difficult in terms of that. I think that was something that hurt him. Jaden Daniels was able to make plays with his arms and with his legs and be the dual threat that we know him to be. But like I say, I mean, overall, offensively, it was a great game from the Commanders. I say the only thing for me that kind of makes me nervous about the Commanders is, the defense. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they had a great offensive game, but they gave up some stuff too. You know what I mean? They gave up 320 passing yards. They gave up 201 rushing yards, so that's one of the things that kind of makes me a little nervous with them. You know what I mean? Third down, they was pretty okay. I mean, they went 4 for 12. So that was okay. Fourth down efficiency was 3 for 4. That was pretty decent. Obviously, just that one communication. And then the biggest thing for me is that it wasn't any interceptions. Now, I believe that if they would have turned the ball over in terms of fumbles or interceptions, it possibly could have been a good ball game. Offensive, they played as good of a game as you can play, man. I mean, no turnovers. They didn't allow any sacks. That is a perfect game. Played on the offensive side of the ball. And like I say, we all know that those injuries and things of that nature kind of is what hurt Detroit overall. But that's not to discredit what the Commanders did. You still have to show up. The Commanders went on the road, take on, one of the top teams in the NFL, top team in the division, and they showed up and they showed out. For me, I had two players of the game. You had Jaden Daniels, who was 22 of 31 for 299 yards and 2 touchdowns passing. He also had 16 carries for 51 yards rushing. So, like I said, and that comes from that man-to-man coverage when your back is to the quarterback. And then for me, I did two. I split it in half. I did two player of the games. I did obviously Jaden Daniels, and then the second one I did was Gibbs. And man, Gibbs played a phenomenal game of football. Like, I will say, I hadn't watched too much of the Lions this year, but I'm on notice with him. I look forward to seeing more of him, doing a little bit more film study on him from this past season, but then looking to see what he does in the future. I mean, this guy was everywhere. Every time they needed those gotta-have-it moments, man, he made plays, whether it was with his legs or whether it was with him catching the ball and, making something happen from there. So he had 14 carries for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing, and he had 6 receptions for 70 yards. And like I say, it's like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, in terms of, passing threat, didn't really have the best game. And that could have been because they was taking conservative efforts to minimize him. That would be something I have to kind of go look at in detail to really see what was going on there. And once again, it could have been bad decision making on Jared Goff's part, but he was a guy that actually stepped up and was able to give them offense and able to give them that, that light when they needed it and when they got down in those dark moments, as well as that the receiver Williams. But, a few plays that stood out to me, obviously, was the interception that Williams threw on that trick play. I think that was a horrible decision. I wouldn't necessarily say the trick play, but I would say in terms of him throwing the ball, he should have known that, no, that wasn't it. Throw it away or use your legs. But to try to force that ball, that wasn't smart football. And then if you go back into when they was in the red area, Commanders was. So the Commanders was like 4th and 3 or something like that. And the Lions end up jumping. No, they had 12 men on the field. And they had 12 men on the field. They gave them the automatic first down. And a few plays later, the Commanders end up scoring. I think initially that was kind of the nail in the coffin. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, right after that, that's when the wide receiver came out on that trick play and threw that interception. And that just was like the icing on the cake, But like I said, man, it was just sloppy football played on their behalf. I mean, like I say, it says everything. You look at 5 turnovers, you look at a fumble loss, you look at 4 interceptions, then you look at that pivotal penalty in a gotta-have-it situation where you're only down by 3 and you jump off sides and give them the ball back, and give them another shot at the end zone, that hurts you. And then, I wouldn't say that they was just pressured that heavy up front all night, because they only gave up 2 sacks, but then you got to take into consideration hurries and things of that nature too, and that's something that you kind of got to watch when you do a little bit more extensive film study. But like I said, overall offensively, great game for the Commanders. Like I said, my biggest knock from this game, and granted the Lions do have a good offense, is just what they weren't able to do consistently defensively, and that's kind of my biggest scare for me with them moving forward. But yeah, Jaden Daniels, man, had a phenomenal game, having a phenomenal season. This kid has a bright future in the NFL if he can keep it up playing on this level, and I think that he has the mentality to progress and get better. And I just love his cool and calm demeanor. It's like the moment is never too big for him. He shows up and show out, and going on the road to beat the best team on the NFC, it's going to be hard to knock those guys off right now because they on a whole different level. But I am interested to see what you guys think about the game. Let me know some things that stood out to you, or let me know something that I might have missed and didn't cover, and let me know how you guys think about the Commanders going forward. Do y'all think that they're going to the Super Bowl, or do y'all think that they're probably going to get this next game is going to be their last game? So, man, comment, let me know, man. Get active in the comment section. But if you did enjoy this video and you want to see more videos like this in the future, man, hit that subscribe button. Once you hit that subscribe button, man, click that post notification bell where you be notified every time I upload, man, because I got these videos coming back to back. And don't forget, smash that thumbs up button, man, and I'll see y'all in the next video. I'm out this thing. Peace.